Hello everybody, we're back here on Lone Oak Farms, Farming Simulator 2017. Last we left off, we were in the middle of windrowing our straw, so without any further ado, hoping I save the guy's course. Oh, good. Well, wait, that's off. There we go. Looks like we did, so we'll get him going right where he left off. And actually, he's about done. Yeah, it appears we just about finished last time. So that's good. We'll get him working on something else, namely the baling of the straw. It isn't even noon yet, and we've already combined these fields. We've windrowed it, and we only own a couple fields on the map, 35, 44, and 45. I guess it isn't too much to get all the farming done. We can handle it. Alright, look at that. Got her all done. And I'm going to take him off the course and we'll take him back to the farm and go find the baler. I think we have this stored inside our hay shed, as I recall. Over against this wall. I usually don't drive in cab. I know there's some people who drive exclusively in cab, or as much as they can. I prefer to see the scenery, but sometimes if you're inside a building, it makes sense to be in cab a little bit. Now I've got to remember where the baler is. I almost think it's over stored in one of these buildings over here, right? Or it was, anyways. Oh, no, no, no. Now I remember what I did. I got a new baler, right? I think I need to go get it. Because if I'm not mistaken, I got a... Oh, I can't even remember what I did in between these episodes. So I bet if I click on right here, aha. Okie doke, we are headed to the dealership. Maybe first we'll get ourselves a little bit of sauce. Now that we have the money for it, last episode we sold some seed, so we have a little money in the bank. I'm gonna get him making bales. And there's occasionally been questions as to the contingent of equipment that they have on the farm today. So when I get him going on the baling, I think I'm gonna take a little time to show some pictures. Almost there. When I worked on the farm, we never had this built into the end of the building. But that is the way they have it now. Let's see, got our hazards on. Let's put our beacons. Head off to the dealership, which of course doesn't exist here in real life. That's where it is in the game. And of course, in real life, they don't have a New Holland tractor. I don't know. I debated whether in starting this series up, if I should make an attempt to get close to the equipment that they had, and I eventually opted not to. You know, if you try to go part way, but you can't get all the way there, I guess a part of me wonders why bother. You know, to me, I think that the main thing isn't so much the particular machines that we had either back in the day or even today. That isn't so much the issue. It's the landscape, it's the memories that I have, and the people. And when it comes to farming sim, the only one we can faithfully represent is the landscape. Oh, and Bill did a tremendous job of that. And you know what? Last time I think I even said I was going to do this off camera, so that means I failed. But what do you do? We need our baler, so we can get it on camera. When I played this on the server, I tried to buy every field that had some hills on it. So I had the one up to the left. We added a placeable area later there off to the right that I put a winery in, or not a winery, it was rather a placeable vineyard. In real life, there actually is a vineyard, not at that spot, but not that far away from the Lone Oak Farm. There's a vineyard, kind of to the west. Woo! I'm gonna sneak right out in front of these cockers. Little chicken. You know, the times I've looked on YouTube to see, you know, ever since this map came out by Bullet Bill, you know, you just type in the search term Lone Oak, and I think there's literally hundreds, if not thousands, of videos that have Lone Oak Farms in it, which is kind of a surreal experience to, you know, go on there and see how people farm the area, what their interpretation is, and yeah, I mean, it's all across the board. I see crops grown that aren't grown here in real life, and that's fine. Not a big deal at all. It's just a curious thing to me, having kind of grown up in the area to see what other people do with it. Now I'm adding my own videos to the mix, and boy, if the family ever looks on here, they'll probably wonder what I'm smoking. For many years, the farm was pretty much exclusively John Deere equipment, and it still is. And what I can tell you, if that is because my uncles believe that John Deere is superior to the other brands, or if it's just tradition. I think I remember one of them saying one time, you know, you do get used to working on a particular brand of machine, and so, you know, for repairs and whatnot, and if you change it too many times, or you know, you lose some institutional knowledge, or it becomes a little bit more difficult, whatever. So maybe that's part of the reason they kept John Deere equipment. All right, back home. I suppose I could have cheated and just did a reset. I think it comes from right onto the farm. But oh well. Alright, let's punch out some bales. I want to do something here. I just installed another mod that's never been published. Okay. Right control A is width adjust activation. Turn on. And I'm trying to remember. Right control numpad plus minus. You see, looking out in the field, let me just explain. You see the windrows out there, and you know there's spots that where the combine had a little burp or whatever out the back, where it stopped to unload, where the windrower, didn't quite row it together all right. And so you know there's going to be those areas where the windrow is just a little bit wider, or sometimes a bunch wider than our baler. We look at this here. This is the area right along here, of course, it's going to pick up the straw and bale it. Now, in real life, straw tends to stick together. And even if the windrow came out to here, a little bit beyond the wheels, oftentimes, because the straw is sticking together, this mechanism here is going to end up slurping the straw right on into it, right along with it. But based on the way the game works, it's only going to take it precisely where the working width is identified. So if there happens to be some sitting out here, even if it would pull it in real life, it isn't going to do that for us in game, meaning there'll be lots of little bits, that we got to go pick up later if we really want to have a clean field. So I'm going to try to deal with that. I made this script called width adjust to widen it just slightly. It actually works on anything that has a work area, if you will, and anything that has impact on the ground, to pick something up or do something to the ground, whether it's this baler, we could have done it with a windrower, even the combine, we can do it, cultivator, plow, we can expand it. So I'm going to do that now. Hopefully this will work. Let's just take it up. See how that little box comes out. It's going to be there just for a little bit. That's probably wide enough, at least I would hope. Um, yeah, it doesn't remember the setting when we save. I never did put it into the save game. But that might be just enough wider to grab all of the windrow, and when it's turning and it isn't going to be perfect, when we go over these windrows, hopefully it's still enough to do what we need it to do. So this is field 35 windrow. We're going to just start it here and turn it loose. And let's see if I can go. So you don't see it working. Most of it is going to be taken directly in, exactly how the windrow is. So I don't even know if there's going to be a place to showcase kind of how this works. But I feel a little better having it on, that we'll be more likely to pick all the straw up, if we have it on. So we shall see. So I'm going to leave him going here, and I was going to go share some pictures, if you will, of some of their current contingent of equipment. Give me just a second here. It might be a little rough getting out of the game. Oh yeah, there we go. So I was up at the farm. This is probably 3 weeks ago now, and I wandered around the farm. We had a big old family reunion going on, and some of us went up to the farm, and so I wandered around the fields, around the barnyards, for a little while. And maybe I should even show where this is on the map. This is a combine shed, kind of where they stored, or where I put the combine in game. This is the seed cleaning warehouse over here. Uh, Over to the right would be the old red barn. Behind us would be the old shop. That's kind of where this truck is sitting. Dual axle, short racks. So maybe this one is used to haul rock, if they're working out in the field, or just kind of a utility carrier. I'm not sure what they had going on here with the short racks. Back in the day when we were hauling rock, we used short racks. mainly so we could throw them up on there and get them easily on the truck. But yeah, that's one of their trucks. Oh, this is a view of one of the sheds where they have a ton of split firewood. It's kind of a church project. Oh, and here, I think I mentioned in a previous video, my grandfather's very first tractor when he was farming, I have no idea what year he purchased this, was a John Deere Model BO. And so this, back in the day, would have been his pride and joy. I think he bought it new. And a number of years ago, I mean, as the farm grew and changed over time, I think he sold it to someone. Eventually, it ended up back in the family. I think one of his younger brothers ended up having it for a number of years. And at some point, my grandfather bought it back from his brother and took it up to the farm, took it apart, restored it, repainted it, and maybe it doesn't look like it's restored here, but it really is. I mean, it's a little dirty, dusty from sitting out, and they really don't use it anymore for any farm work, of course. I mean, it's too old, it's impractical. But at some point, maybe I'll talk a little about some threshing bees that they have up here as to what that is, old time threshing bees. And that's when this thing is brought out of the shed and it's used to pull a few trailers, haul in the bundle rack of sheaves of grain to the threshing machine and that kind of thing. So it isn't used very often, but it is in full working condition. And it was Grandpa's the first tractor on Lone Oak Farms, as I understand it. Yeah, just some of their other equipment, things they've got over time. This would have been really helpful back in the day when dealing with rocks. Be a good machine to have kind of on the place. And we we dug lots of trenches too. This would have been nice to have. This obviously is the old barn, and you see the house in the background and the windmill there too. Couple trailers that they have there. Back in the day, we used the farm truck single axle going to and from the field to bring seed in. Now they have tractor trailer type units, semi trucks to haul these, and this is kind of a regular trailer, belly dumped down here, and with a pup trailer that they would bring it in from the field. Quite a bit different setup than we had, and a lot better tarps too, I might add. These are so much easier. They got this handle on the back. They can roll this up and over, wham bam, and it's done. And back in the day, it was a whole lot more horsing around to cover the load over for transport. This is one of two windrowers I think I saw. I don't know if they have a third. Back in the day, they had as many as four, I think, at times. John Deere W260 looks fairly new. Don't know how old it is. In one of the sheds here. Uh, Grain drill kind of in the front here. I think I've mentioned it's kind of just a traditional grain drill. Not sure how wide it is. I think they have a couple of these. Maybe they tie them together when they plant the fields. That I don't know. Or maybe they use two of them at the same time. But that's how they get the seed in the ground. I think oh, this is the 4630. Obviously, my hand was in motion when I took a picture of it, so apologies for that. I did a horrible job. I'm not a photographer. I was standing kind of in a dark shed. I should have opened the door, that would have helped, but didn't get the job done. Um, oh, it looks like I didn't take any picture behind it either. This is the shed that we were just in, was over here. Um, yeah, there's some other older tractors down in there. This is kind of a well that they have in here. That's the first truck that we took a picture of. This is their spray rig, and I think I've described it before, that it's basically a homemade affair. It looks like they have different booms on it, but I think it doubles both for application of chemical and application of fertilizer, and maybe even, I know they put on some liquid fertilizer, I think I've heard. I don't know if they do that with this or if they do it with the spray coop that they have, maybe a little bit of both. So somewhere, and I remember seeing it when I was up there, there's a box that they can take on and off, for when they, distribute granular fertilizer out in the fields. But this otherwise is a unit they use for spray. I think previously this chassis had been through a fire, and they did a bunch of um, their own mechanical handiwork to fix it up and make it into a spray rig for the farm. This is a tractor they have. Hadn't seen this one before, so it's new to me. I thought they had an 8330 on the farm, but I couldn't find it. So I don't know if they have it anywhere. But here's a 7330. It looks like it was cutting some hay. That's a mower behind there. Um, Here's a 6145R. Not sure what they use it for. New to me. I haven't seen it before. The machines we had back when I worked up there were nowhere near this nice. There's been so many changes up there. It's kind of hard to recognize, even, although I recognize the buildings and all that. Here's a spray coop. They had another spray coop kind of back in the day. This one looks newer, so they must have retired the other one. Again, you had to apply chemical. I don't know that they put on fertilizer with this. I think it's primarily chemical, but I wouldn't know for sure. Yeah, here's kind of just a panoramic of the buildings. I think we know what this one is in game. Uh, on the map, as Bullet Bill did it, there's 3 grain bins kind of sitting here. And I know I've mentioned a couple times in real life, there's this seed cleaning warehouse here. And there was a gap between the two buildings. Here, a year or two ago, they closed it in, they poured some concrete. I was actually up there when they poured it. And I think basically, ultimately, if I had to guess, I don't know this for sure, but there is a pit in here. Probably at some point this will be used for unloading trucks and maybe a seed handling system to distribute it out. That's probably in the future, but like I say, that's just a guess on my own part. This, yeah, one of their tractor trailer units. Looks like they can use it for chemical, probably take it to the fields, either chemical or fertilizer, to put it onto the fields. They have some tanks here to get that in there. I think that's in the map also. Oh, there's just a general picture of the field. A couple of those. Partial boneyard, if you will. I think Bullet Bill built that into the map. This, I recognize this here. I think they had it back in the day when I worked on the farm. And this was their spray rig. It had just a couple booms on it. Wasn't near as wide or as fancy as, what they have now, but that's how they covered their fields. Just pulled it behind a tractor, probably the 4020. They are adding a concrete pad, it appears, in this field, and this is where evidently they stored their combines this year. So we see those kind of poking out there. I'm just kind of taking in the pad. Well, gotta get a panoramic. I do love a panoramic. Definitely shows more perspective kind of the area. Maybe we should go take a look at our baler. Make sure he's behaving. He isn't doing bad. I do wonder how he's gonna interact with all these bales, though. Sometimes those can get in the way, but so far so good, right? We won't borrow trouble. We'll go back to our... Oops. We'll go back to our... Oh, and of course it got rid of the pictures. I tell you what, it just has a way of doing this to us. And where did I put the pictures? That's kind of embarrassing. My computer isn't strong enough to run all this at the same time, so occasionally it kills my picture viewer. And so now I kind of have to go find, I think they were in here. Yeah, these were the pictures I was looking at, right? Mm-hmm. So here we were looking at the panoramic of the pad. This, being that they were parked in the air, I couldn't just pull them out of the shed, of course, nor could I easily go in there and take a picture. The best I could do, because I knew some would be interested in what they have, I believe they have three combines at the moment. One is a S670. It's got a hillside kit on it, so it auto levels with the hills as it harvests. They have a 9650 STS, also with a Hilco side hill kit on it. I think I've showed some live footage of this in one of the videos. And then there's a third combine just ahead of this one, a 9770 STS, I think a flatland machine, no leveling capacity on it. All of them, I believe, are rotary machines. The John Deere Bullet rotor, no more conventional threshing like it was back in the day when I worked there. So those are the combines. They have a four-wheel drive large tractor for some of their heavy tillage work, 9430 John Deere. Again, I can't show the whole thing because it also was parked in the shed, and I think just ahead of it you can see additional trailers that they have. Would have been so handy back in the day out in the field. We had to really hustle to keep up with the combines. And maybe they still do. It's all relative. Those are some big combines, and I'm sure they go much quicker than what we did back in the day. Little forklift that they have, they got a big old scoop on it. I'm pretty sure that's probably homemade for bulk handling of seed. Back when I worked up there, pretty much, once the seed was in the warehouse in bulk bins, every bit of it was moved by hand. And obviously, a human being wouldn't be strong enough to move it with a scoop that size. So it was much smaller, many, many, many scoops. And I tell you what, it was a good way to stay in shape. But I think it's for the best that they have this kind of equipment up there now to help them manage the seed that they have. That's just a picture of one of their bags with radish seed stored in there. That's a look across the way. This particular shed, just behind me, is the shed where the combines were. And just to the right and in back of us in game, of course, would be those three grain bins. So this shed over here didn't make it into the map. Bullet Bill opted to exclude it, but for many years, and maybe even now, it's kind of hard to tell. I don't know that it's in there anymore, but there used to be a sawmill, a portable sawmill, but it was, mainly placed and used here for many, many years. They cut a lot of their own timber and then they would bring it in here and saw it into boards and whatnot and even use it on some of their own building projects. Years ago, when they had hogs, they handled them in this building here, at least the market ones. And so I remember spending some time in there scooping the hoy. Another one of their trucks with short racks. I don't recognize this one. I don't know that they even have any of the trucks that we had on the farm back in the day. Some of their yard equipment, another tractor trailer unit down there. I don't know if that's theirs. Some of these augers, looks like they have several augers. Some of them they would use, of course, to move seed in those buildings back there that we saw. But some of these I do recognize. I think they had this one back in the day and this blue one here that we used all the time in the seed warehouse to get it from the truck into the building. Another picture at that angle. And in game, this whole hillside is full of trees. This building over here that you see is over in the area where the sheep farm is. Kind of kitty corner across the way. That's what you'd be looking at here. And they have totally logged the hillside. It's denuded of trees. Hopefully they'll replant. Looks totally different from how it looked, when I worked up there. So I'm glad in the game that it has trees on there. One of their discs, a sunflower disc. I have no idea if there's a mod like that out there or not. But some of their tillage area, don't know why it's parked there. This is kind of a loading dock. This is a seed cleaning warehouse. Yeah, it's another picture of the truck. Oh, looks like someone goobered it on the edge there. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. Not this time. Some of their older equipment, if you will. Um, I remember most of this being used back in the day. Um, I used this myself when we were doing some hay. There may even be another one kind of sitting there. This was occasionally used for mowing. I don't know about the smaller one. Rototiller. This is probably still used to help maintain the fire breaks around the fields. Um, yeah, just a couple trailers. And like I said, they got a lot of wood cutting projects going on over here. I think this is a horse trailer. Another truck sitting there, dual axle. They have a D4 Caterpillar. This was used quite a bit back in the day. And you know, they say of old cats, they never die anyhow. They just, yeah, they just wait there until they're going to be used. This is a Model D tractor, and if I ever get to talking about the threshing bees that we had, I'll talk about it. They don't use it for the farm. This is just an antique, but we would use this to power the threshing machine. You know, when we done it, the stationary threshing machine. It's bigger than the BO, the old Model BO that I talked about earlier. There's an old 4020 John Deere tractor. It's one that I believe we had up there on the farm when I worked up there many, many moons ago. They had two at the time, as I recall, and it appears they have just one left. Well, I think that's all of the machinery. I'll head back in game and we'll see how our baler dude is doing. I don't know if he'll pick up that little stangly right there. Maybe he will. Aha, he will. Yeah, so having the width adjust on there is allowing him to pick up most of the straw. I think he's doing a pretty good job, actually. Well, it appears I'm over half an hour, so I'm going to call the episode there. That's kind of the current contingent of equipment that they have, and we are bailing. We'll continue this in another episode. Thanks for watching, sharing some of your time with me, and hope you enjoyed the episode. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye for now.